Thank you very much, Adiba Qasim, for joining us with GCSP today. Adiba Qasim is a Yazidi refugee here in Switzerland. She's also a young leader in foreign and security policy with the GCSP's Global Fellowship Initiative. And also, Adiba, you are a student at the University of Geneva, which you've just finished your exams. Congratulations for that. Thank you for being with us here today as we mark World Refugee Day 2020. And this day is marked by the United Nations, highlighting the 1951 Refugee Convention and the 1967 Protocol to help and support refugees. What does Refugee Day mean to you, and how does it affect you?
I would say that it's really great that to have at least one day in a year that we can be reminded, because a refugee is representing millions of other refugees over the world. We are not just a small minority. So yeah, most of the time we are forgetting. So at least to remember one day, I think it's great. And yeah, it means to me a lot. Also, I go back to home the day that I left home, the day that I left everything behind me. The other day I was just thinking of what I've got from my home, basically nothing except the memories. And there are millions of other refugees like me who left everything behind. They just got some memories of their home, of their country, and they live. And being a refugee was never a choice, and we never choose to be refugees. And I think that being a refugee, how to say that, because most of the time we are seeing as like weak people, we are seeing small, and we are judged by our status as refugees. But I would just say that refugee is a strong person, a strong human being. Refugee is a person who gave the life another chance to live, who decided to change the future and to make a better world for the generations behind us, so they can live in peace.
Adiba, do you mind sharing when did you leave your home and from where?
Yeah, so I am Yazidi from Iraq, from Sinjar, northern Iraq. And 3rd of August 2014, I was with my family. We were sleeping on the roof of our house in a summer day. And at 7 o'clock, we had to wake up and we had to leave home because the Islamic State, they attacked our region, our town. So we had no time. We just had to hold each other's hands and to leave home. So at that time, yeah, we didn't know what's gonna happen to us. We didn't know even where we are going. And at that moment, I remember that I thought it's just 1 or 2 hours and I'm gonna go back home. I run away with my pyjama. I've got nothing with me, and same with my siblings and with my parents. So, and then we had to go to another area, and then crossing the mountains illegally, and to arrive to Turkey, where I became a refugee for the first time with my siblings and my parents. And there in Turkey, I decided to put my siblings in a boat and to send them to Europe so they can find peace. I had no choice. This is one thing that I always say. And also, is this poem where say that no one leaves home unless home is the mouth of a shark. And yeah, I didn't put my siblings in that boat because it was safe, but because I had no any other solution. And when I put my siblings in that boat, I had no idea if they're gonna make it, if they're gonna survive. But at the end, finally they made it to peace. So all my family today, they are refugees, and we are all refugees today. But yeah. So actually, this is my second time that I'm a refugee. I became a refugee in Turkey with my family, sent my family to Europe, and then I decided to go back home, hoping that I can change something. because at that moment I feel that I've lost everything. So now I will go back, at least I can change some small things. I had no more to lose, no more to lose. So I went back to my country. I never wanted to leave everything behind me and to run away, because it is very easy, so easy to leave everything and to go to start a new life. Super easy. But then, yeah, and then for the refugees, it's how to say, it's the last decision, when, because we try all other things to survive, and when we have no any other solution, when it comes to our freedom, then we run away. So, and it arrived to me that I had to choose between death or freedom, between, you know, death or running away. So of course I decided to run away again from my country for the second time, and it was very difficult. I left everything again behind me. I had to start from zero somewhere else, learn a new language, you know, learn a new education, join another community, you know. But if I don't know if I will be accepted by this community because of who I am, my history, my culture, all of that. So I ended up here in Switzerland. I am a refugee here in Switzerland since 2 years and a half. Trying to do my best to change the world.
You are doing a great job.
Try to make a better place for the other generations behind us, and because no one deserves to go what we have been through. No one absolutely deserves to face what we faced. Yeah.
The UN provides a whole bunch of statistics. They say, you know, every minute 20 people are fleeing war, persecution, and terror. But actually, statistics are statistics in some way, and people just see numbers, and people can get overwhelmed by numbers. But remembering that those are people, and people who have left behind livelihoods and family and homes and communities and lifestyles. You've made it to Switzerland. How can we learn to adapt better? How can we learn to adapt our support systems and the realities that we live in here? How can we be more inclusive, accepting? What can we do?
I'm very realistic, you know, I speak from my experiences. So there is one thing. Normally they say that when the refugee arrive to the safe country, to the host community, everything is over and now it's the beginning of a new life of peace. But actually, no, it's for us is a beginning of a new war, a new challenge, because we are not accepted. We are, most of the time we are refused by the host communities, you know. And then if I talk about the situation in the refugee camp, and we have forgotten those people in the refugee camps. Yeah, I mean, I arrived to the safe community today. I'm in a safe community, and then there are millions of refugees who are dreaming to be where I am today. I'm today a student at the University of Geneva. I am here in peace. It is great, but there are also lots of challenges for me, because I am seeing just a refugee, you know. I'm not seeing as a human who I am, my culture, my history, and everything behind me, you know. I'm just seeing as a refugee. And just one little thing. I applied in asylum in Switzerland more than 2 years and a half, and I'm still not accepted or not refused. So I am in between. It's really an unstable situation for me. You know, it's a question of stability, and I am following everything according to the law, but I don't know if I am accepted or I am refused, you see. So it's quite challenging. And then most of the countries, they think that they are like hosting half of the world of refugees, but actually no, they are only hosting few members of those refugees, you know, comparing to how many refugees we have in the refugee camps and in unstable areas in the tents, etc., for many years. And there are generations who've grown up in those camps. So
we need to really change our mindsets, I think, is a clear message that I'm hearing. But also, you know, as you said, everyone is a human being, and they need their security, their stability that need to be brought into consideration. And to be living in limbo for 2 years, I mean, what is your hope for what comes next for you?
Yeah, so it's really complicated to, yeah, I mean, I would just, for me, you know, I hope that one day all refugees can really live with dignity and with peace, and to be accepted and to be respected, because this is something that most of the time we don't see. Even when we go through those refugee centers, there are like horrible things happening that no one talk about it, even in those safe countries. In Europe, I would not talk about one country. In many countries that refugees, we are really um, suffering by not being respected, I would say, you know, our dignity. And this is something that I want to really to see in the future too, that everyone live in peace and in dignity, and all the voices can be heard. This is really something that I am hoping to see.
You are an activist. You are a female empowerment leader in your community. No matter where you go, you inspire, you speak to people's hearts, you do everything you can to build people up instead of tear people down. And I think that someone like you is essential in the world. Where does your strength come from, and how do you remain at peace with yourself?
Yeah, so I grew up in the war in Iraq, in my country, and in Iraq, and also I am from a minority. We've been always rejected, and I haven't seen peace in my country. I mean, this is something. When I arrived to Switzerland, everything was very hard for me. I couldn't integrate to this peace society. You see what I mean? It was really hard for me because I've never been in a calm country. So it took me so much time to integrate into it, because I'm grown up in war, and I don't know what will happen to me tomorrow. I am living the moment, you know. And this is exactly, I mean, every day we live for the day, you know. There was no future, and for the fact that I had no right to go to school in Iraq because of the war again, and it was super challenging. So then all those difficulties, you know, they create something in me. But I was, even when I was a very little girl, I was always hoping that one day I will be different. One day I will be able to change. And then life was never easy for me. It was always taking from me, then giving to me something. Basic rights, I couldn't have them naturally. I had to fight for every single thing. Every single thing I had to fight. Like, I was born with no right. And then, yeah, I was 19 when we left home, and for the fact that I became the responsible for my parents and my 4 siblings. So I had to work, I had to feed them, I had to learn languages to be able even to represent my community. And I lived in a refugee camp in Turkey in 2014, where I became a refugee for the first time. So I would be going, I was not speaking in English. I would be going to the garbage and getting like cigarette packets and coming and writing sentences to be able to speak to the international organizations when they were coming and visiting us, with the media, to tell the world what have happened to us. Your question was, when I found the strength, I mean, I ran away from my home just 15 minutes before the ISIS Daesh arrived to my village. So if I was 15 minutes late, I would be among those women who were kidnapped, killed, and taken as sex slaves, etc. So also, like, I had, how to say, those feelings between guilt and lucky at the same time, you know, feeling guilty for the fact that I am free, where actually every other one were taken, but lucky for being alive and being able, you know, to shout and to open people's minds about what have happened to us. So sometimes I've been invited to talk about leaderships, you know, where it comes from, how to be a leader, and then I don't know. It's not something that you really create in.
Yeah.
It it happens naturally because you have to face it, you have to challenge it. So all those bad things, all those wars, I use them to create myself. I use the war, I use the bad experiences to create a message and to travel with it and to tell the world what is happening. And I find it as a responsibility as well, you know, not just for my community, but for I'm representing other people, other young girls who are now in the refugee camps, who are, you know, so.
And you've, through that journey, obstacle after obstacle that you've had to face, it's you've, as you said, learning languages, the decisions to put your family onto the boats, fleeing unimaginable circumstances, and making your way to Europe out of a sense of survival in a way as well. Oh, absolutely a sense of survival. But in the last couple of years, you've now, I mean, I've seen you've spoken in front of the UN. I mean, you have been part of a full community of global change makers. It's amazing to hear your story and to see what you've been able to, what has come your way and the opportunities that you've taken now to have a platform, a message to share. What else do global leaders or decision makers, policymakers, what do they need to hear?
So I made it to peace. Today here I'm in Switzerland, and for the fact that I learned languages, I'm today speaking my fourth language, and I learned languages in those refugee camps in this journey, and I'm able to speak. I no more have fear inside of me because of what I face. So I had to speak and shout. So I made it, and today I made it to peace. I am in Switzerland. I am able to meet people, I'm able to talk to people. But what about other million refugees in the refugee camps or in the IDP camps? You know, no one heard their voices. You know, I am here. I made it. My journey. It's still it's ongoing. But what about other refugees in everywhere over the world? What I would say is that their voices need to be heard as well. We need to listen to them more. And then I cannot represent them, you know, I cannot represent all those people because their voices need to be heard. They are living in the refugee camps. They are facing so much. And there is a lot going on in the refugee camps, for the fact that there is no education, there are no opportunities for the young people to go forward in their life, and that will create a very difficult future for the whole generation, for the whole community. So I always say that we need to listen to those people, and then in the refugee camp, if you cannot get them out of there and bring them to a peace area, at least to provide them with some education. Education, I'm talking about school, about scholarships, about providing like a platform where they can, you know, really improve in languages or go to the universities, because that's the only solution that I think we need, you know. So then they can rebuild their communities, then they can make a future for themselves, by themselves. Maybe you alone cannot do everything. All the other international organizations cannot do everything by themselves. So there should be always the refugees always should be part of this the decision that gonna be taken according to their future. We need to hear their voices. We need to hear the voices of refugees, and because they are all like me, fighting for the future. They are all like me. They want to speak, but there are no one to listen to them.
Thank you, Adiba. I wanted to leave you now with the chance to share any final thoughts. This year in the World Refugee Day with the UN, the theme is "Every Action Counts." But what kind of actions can, here at least in Switzerland and maybe in Europe as well, what kind of actions can we take? If
I have one message for other young refugees over the world, I will tell them to stay positive, to stay strong, to keep your dignity, to be who you are. Never afraid to say that I'm a refugee. Say it loudly and be proud of who you are, because you are one of the strongest person in the world who gave their life another chance to live, who is fighting to change the future, and who is fighting to make the world a better place. This is my message for all the young refugees over the world, because we can make it, and together we can change it. And for everyone, not just the refugees, for everyone who listens to me, I would say together we can change. And if each one of us do a small part, we can definitely see a change. And sometimes I've been questioned if the people in the peace societies and peace countries can also be part of the peace building. And I would say definitely yes. Together we can do it. We both need each other, and we refugee alone cannot do everything by ourselves. So we need you together to build something better.
Adiba, thank you so much for your time and for your messages and for your inspiration. And it's absolutely not the last time we will hear from you. We will see you all over. I have no doubt. Thank you for taking the chance for the opportunity or for the interview here today.
You're welcome.